Hi.
I'm vaccinated, don't worry.
That's great, but let's follow protocol.
Um, so Justin and the jury coming in about the same time you have people coming. I was just wondering which one's going to be the more priority, the jurors or your judge? You don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer.
You're supposed to say
I,
YGR is more important than
what I want to say is, this is all real stupid and this shouldn't be happening right now.
What's happening?
Anyway, I never
Um,
said that.
Apple is being sued by Epic Games right now for, I believe it's antitrust stuff. Uh, Epic Epic Game wants to have Fortnite on iOS platforms, um, but Apple takes 30% of all microtransactions. So Epic is suing them. Um, and there are a lot of implications behind this. In regards to other antitrust things, there are a lot of tech platforms right now that have monopolistic like controls over tech platforms. So this could sort of set a chain reaction
Hey,
and set a
did you
precedent
get your break?
in
Oh, okay, heaven.
gaming and just more generally
Oh, goodness.
tech spaces. So it's a really interesting situation we're in. Uh, and the legal battle is going to be pretty intense. Um, Not my normal content, but could be interesting.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but if you need anything else, Francis, let me know.
For Hey, what's up, Laser Gamer?
Today, we celebrate the anniversary of the Platform Unification Directives. For years, they have given us their songs, their labor, their dreams. In exchange, we have taken our tribute, our profits, our control. This power is ours and ours alone. We shall prevail.
What a good commercial. That's pretty insane.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the Information Purification Directives. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests, obeying contradictory thoughts. Unification of thoughts
Yeah,
is more powerful a weapon
it's a
than
really
any
interesting
fleet or
problem.
army on
Um,
earth. We are
I mean,
one nation, with one
the reason they did it is because uh, Epic broke terms of service, but whether or not that terms of or those terms of service are legal and able to be justified is kind of the whole point of the lawsuit, right? So it's gonna be crazy to see what
one
happens.
resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and
Messed
we
up. I don't think they should. I think that's I don't know. It's pretty hard.
we shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
I did a study on this on this commercial before. Man, I think the Fortnite one is actually more compelling somehow. I think it's just way better. Why I'm eating my sandwich. I don't quite understand how that plays into it, but enjoy your sandwich, my dude. I hope it's tasty. Let's see. Are they going now? Yeah, so right now this is just the conference call or like telephone call for the trial that's in progress right now. I guess they're just on a break still. Oh well. We'll just pause this. So there's no background stuff. Let's see. Both teams are working overtime, dueling social media posts, parody videos, grandstanding. Apple and Epic are working hard to sway gamers to their respective sides. I don't know how Apple would go about this. What would they even do? Like, how could they? Wait. Do they have no tweets? What the heck? Does Apple just not have tweets? That's weird. Working hard to sway. Where does Apple post? Starting a fire and pouring gas on it in a new Fortnite filing.
On August 13th, one of the biggest games in the world disappeared from the App Store. Fortnite had implemented its own in-app payment system, bypassing Apple's in-house payment network and violating the App Store's rules. But when Apple followed through on its policies and kicked Fortnite off the store, the company got a big surprise. Fortnite had a 65-page lawsuit set to file as soon as they got banned, complete with an extended video parodying Apple's iconic 1984 commercial.
For years they have given us their songs, their labor, their dreams.
Epic set a trap, and Apple walked right into it. Epic pulled the same trick on Google too, so it's going to be taking on both major app stores at once.
Oh, I didn't
But
know
there's
that.
way more at stake here than just Fortnite. With the App Store, Apple revolutionized the way we distribute software to mobile devices. Google followed that model on Android, and the two companies have been at the center of mobile software distribution ever since. It's an incredibly powerful position to be in, maybe too powerful. But to really understand how that power works, you gotta look at the big picture. 25 years ago, if you wanted to buy this hot new game called Doom, you had to go to the mall and get a physical cardboard box with the game inside it. You got it at a regular store that looked like this, and that store was probably charging the regular retail markup of around 50%. Add in the cost of physically fabricating the boxes and shipping them out to all the malls all across America, and the share that was going to developers was actually pretty small. Fast forward to 2020, and if you want to buy this hot new game called Doom, you go to an online portal like Steam or the PlayStation Store, which will usually take 30% of whatever you're paying. The way those portals see it, it's a great deal compared to how we used to do things. They're taking a smaller cut, and because it's all digital, publishers have to spend a lot less money getting out their product. Apple basically made this
So you have your
shift
own
happen,
platform.
and it's a huge part of the
Then user
legacy of Steve
acquisition's really hard.
Jobs.
Well, we're going to solve that problem for every developer, big to small. And the way we're going to do it is what we call the App Store.
It's made it easier and cheaper for developers to get their work out, and resulted in tons of new options for iPhone users. As Apple sees it, that's well worth the 30%. And Tim Cook made this exact point at the tech antitrust hearing in July when he was asked about the so-called Apple tax.
To sort of zoom out and to give you some historical context on this, when we entered the App Store market, the cost of distributing software was 50 to 70%. And so we took the rate in half and to 30%, and we've held it in that same level over time or lowered it.
But what are these stores actually doing to earn their 30%? Back in 1995, Electronics Boutique had to cover rent, employee
acquisition.
salaries, and inventory management, but the only real expense for the App Store is vetting the games and keeping the servers running. There were $50 billion in App Store sales in 2019, which means Apple brought in around $15 billion in revenue just from the App Store. Maintaining the digital store only cost a fraction of that. It gets even trickier now that most software isn't a one-time purchase. Instead of buying Photoshop once, you're paying a little bit each month. Free-to-play games like Fortnite have become hugely popular, making money off virtual items sold within the app. Apple takes its 30% on subscriptions and in-app purchases too, but with so many services existing across multiple platforms, it leads to some really strange situations. Right now, you can't buy a book on the Kindle app. You have to buy it on the web and then read it on the app, just because they don't want to pay Apple's extra slice. The same goes for Spotify, which used to allow purchases from within the app, but would charge an extra $3 just to cover Apple's cut. Wherever they can, developers are moving the point of sale off of Apple devices, just to avoid Apple's transaction fee. Suddenly, that 30% starts to look an awful lot like a tax, paid to Apple for the privilege of distributing software to Apple devices. Apple controls the platform. You can't put software on an iPhone without them. So if you want to play on their platform, you got to pay the tax. At least with portals like Steam or the Epic Games app, you can shop around between stores. But for iOS devices, the App Store is the only game in town. There's no jailbreaking, no sideloading. You pay the 30% or you can't be on the iPhone. This is where Epic's lawsuit comes in. Epic's accusing Apple of violating the Sherman Act, saying the company unlawfully maintains a total monopoly in the iOS app distribution market. That might sound weird.
Fortnite
of course,
won?
Apple has
No,
a monopoly
not yet.
over Apple product.
They're currently in court. Let's see. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. They're in court right now. The litigation is taking place. They're just on a short 20-minute break. Yeah, still completely undecided that I know of. I think this is just day one of litigation. But it's interesting. We're just doing a little bit of background research, try and get a little bit better context into how the trial might swing, and what's going on.
But there are enough third-party developers on the App Store that it's a serious charge.
What are your thoughts on this?
The way
Wait, if there's anybody in chat right now, who do you think is right? Do you think that Fortnite, or do you think that Epic Games / Fortnite is right? They have a right to exist on iOS and not pay 30% microtransaction fees or App Store fees? Or do you think Apple has the right to control their own platform and charge whatever they want and gatekeep any content they want? For example, a big part of the lawsuit is Apple isn't letting Epic Games put their own app store in, where they can control their own transactions. So who do you think is right in chat? It's a pretty big question, and I don't think there's really any easy answer. I think it's kind of undeniable right now that Apple and Google have a duopoly. So like there isn't really a third app store that exists in reality. I guess there's like the Microsoft Store, but that's a joke, let's be honest. Apple and Google with Android basically corner the market. So do you think that should be allowed? Do you think that should be broken up by like antitrust laws? What are your thoughts?
Epic paints it, you can't make iOS software if you're not on the App Store. And you can't be on the App Store if you don't use Apple's in-app payment system. The payment system is important because that's where the 30% tax gets collected. So if Epic were able to use its own payment system like it tried to do, it would be able to get around the tax. Crucially, Epic isn't asking for any money here. Instead, they're asking for the judge to enjoin Apple from continuing to impose its anti-competitive restrictions on the iOS ecosystem. In short, they want the court to break up the App Store monopoly.
Yeah.
Spotify has already weighed in to applaud the lawsuit, saying, Apple's unfair practices have disadvantaged competitors and deprived consumers for far too long.
Oh my God,
the
what's
interesting
up, Danny?
thing is, Apple already makes exceptions to that rule when it
Holy
wants
shit,
to.
it's been a while, my
In
dude.
April, Amazon's video app started to allow Prime rentals through its own payment system. That is, without paying the Apple tax. It was the exact same thing Fortnite had tried to do, but this time Apple let it happen. At the time, the company said it was because of a program for premium video rentals, but really it was just that Amazon was powerful enough to set its own terms. There were enough Prime Video members with
doing?
iPhones and iPads and Apple TVs that Apple was willing to bend the rules a little bit. Android is supposed to be more open than that, but Epic says they had the same problem. Epic actually tried to make a go of it outside the Play Store, offering a sideload-only version of Fortnite for Android, but in practice, almost all Android downloads in the US still come through the Google Play Store. Not even Fortnite was enough to convince Android users to look outside the Play Store. It's not a coincidence that
What's up,
Android
baby?
ended up
I'm
running
doing
on
pretty
one
good,
big
my
app
dude.
store controlled by Google.
Summer has been wasted so far, so I figured I'd do a little bit of research on gaming memes now that I kind of work in the space. How you been doing? How's your
Google,
what's it called? Air technician or aircraft mechanic stuff? How's that
makes it
going?
hard to compete, bundling the Play Store alongside must-have Android apps like Gmail, Search, and YouTube. We actually got to see those agreements firsthand when regulators in the EU tried to unbundle Android from the rest of Google. But even when you peel apart Android, Google makes sure that manufacturers can't pre-install Gmail or Google Search without making Google Play the default app store, bundling everything together as Google Play services. The only way to avoid that bundle is to build a whole new ecosystem on top of the open source Android code, like Amazon's Fire OS. But for the most part, the dominance of Google services on Android is unchallenged. Regulators have been aware of these problems for a while, and Apple in particular is already kind of in trouble over it. There's a case about this headed to the Supreme Court right now, and an ongoing antitrust inquiry in the EU. But Epic is putting pressure on Apple in a way that regulators just can't. It's a sign of things to come, not just for Apple, but for the whole industry. Tech companies are used to being able to set their own rules, whether it's Google Search, Amazon Marketplace, or the Facebook newsfeed. And it's no surprise when those rules end up benefiting the companies themselves. But with antitrust pressure mounting, the folks on the losing side of those rules finally have a chance to fight back. Epic was the first one to take its shot, but it probably won't be the last. Thanks.
That was a good video. Nice. You're working in Newfoundland. Holy shit, dude, that's Pog. That's actually really cool. How's the food? Last time I went to Newfoundland, the food was really good. That's what I remember. Actually, the beaches were nice as well, I believe. Yeah, Newfoundland's pretty cool. Aircraft maintenance structural apprentice. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. And there's no COVID? That's awesome. Here, it's all COVID. Can't do anything. Everywhere's closed. I can't even get a haircut. In case you can't tell by my disgusting hair, everything's closed. Kinda sucks. But glad you're doing well, dude. It's awesome. Okay, let's read the article. Oh, is this the whole filer? Hey, let's go. Okay. Epic started a fire and poured gas on it. Now ask the court for emergency assistance in putting it out, writes Apple. even though Epic can do so itself in an instant by simply adhering to the contractual terms we've profitably governed its relationship with Apple for years. No beaches? What do you mean no beaches? Aren't there like beaches with like massive sand dunes? Do you know what I'm talking about? That's like the whole point of going to Newfoundland. Or is that PEI? I might be thinking of PEI, but I remember the beaches being like the best part. Epic could have avoided any further harm involving both Fortnite and Unreal with a simple keystroke. It says that by refusing to do so, Epic is holding its own customers hostage to gain leverage in a business dispute. I mean, kind of, but that's what the point is. They don't want to pay the 30%, and they'd rather set precedent. It'd be crazy. I mean, I guess this is just like rhetoric to sway the players, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of true. Only moved here last fall, so I learned to cut my hair in Ontario last year, lol. I've been like 50-50 and just shaving off my hair. It's getting pretty uncomfortable, and it's like kind of in my eyes. I don't know if you can see like that. It's annoying. Newfoundland's a big ass rock. That sucks, dude. I mean, move to the coast or something. I mean, I guess you're working, so you don't have a choice, but that kind of sucks. Food is nice though. If you like seafood, at least. Fish and chips is delicious. Ever since it kicked Fortnite off the App Store and the phone maker has been clear it would be happy to return to the status quo. Yeah, of course they would. They'd love to settle this. Apple reiterates its main argument that the company provides a valuable service by maintaining the App Store. It does, and that by circumventing the store's rules, Epic is breaking its contract with Apple, and the company is free to boot it from its services. But the opposition brief also adds new details. Apple suggests, for example, that Epic has started this legal battle in part to draw attention to a flagging franchise. For reasons having nothing to do with Epic's claims against Apple, Fortnite's popularity is on the wane. Is that true? By July 2020, interest in Fortnite has decreased by nearly 70%. I guess I can believe that, but that's pretty crazy. I guess they haven't gotten as big media coverage. They're just sort of on the decline a little bit. They're still pretty big. I guess it's some kind of a marketing stunt, but I think more, you know what, honestly, more than that, Apple, man, the really important thing, I need to write this down. The really important thing is that, oh my God, Epic is owned by Tencent. If Epic wins mobile legal battle, other mobile games benefit. So even if Epic loses, Tencent still wins, right? That's a big thing. Tencent's the world's largest gaming company, owns Los Angeles-based Riot, and has a 40% stake in Epic. I'll send some photos of the view from the front door of the house I'm getting next year. Oh, that sounds awesome, dude. I'll love to see them. Man, I hope it's pretty. Are there a lot of forests? Do you live in a forest? Somehow I feel like Newfoundland has a lot of forests, but I could be completely off. Apple notes that iOS is not a big part of Fortnite's revenue. I think that's wrong. I'm pretty sure that's wrong. It quotes disclosures from Epic that only 10% of Fortnite consumers play regularly on the iPhone and claims that Epic has said Apple is the smallest piece of the pie. I didn't know that. I thought it was way bigger than that. What does this mean? Okay, dude. Cool Ukrainian though. Ukrainian too. iOS is, did it say 10%? 10% revenue. Epic. Pie. If Epic were truly concerned that it would suffer reputational injury from this dispute, it would not be engaged in these elaborate efforts to publicize it. Yeah, of course. From all appearances, including the Free Fortnite campaign, Epic thinks that its conduct here will engender goodwill, boost its reputation, drive users to Fortnite, not the opposite. That is not harm. Yeah, that's true. I think. What army? If you want to prepare for the month's court hearing, you can read the opposition brief in full below. Let's go. Okay, wait. Let's see if this is back live. It should be. I don't think so. Just rumbling.
Okay, the judge is going to come right out at 1:15.
Hey, let's go. We're back. Whoa.
And do you have water up there? I mean, I'm just, you know what? I just want you to know we in Club One have friends and keep hearing the people, so that's fine. So, yeah. Right, either way, yeah, yeah. All right, remain seated, court is in session, come to order.
They're back. Okay, back in court.
Right,
the court is back in session.
Record will reflect that the parties are present. Mr. Sweeney is on the stand. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Sweeney, does Epic make any apps for smartphones? Yes.
Did Epic make apps for smartphones? Yes. Okay, this is boring. We'll come back to this. I want to read the brief. Let's see. This is by Apple, right? Defendant Apple Inc. Opposition to Epic Games. Motion for preliminary injunction. Okay. Yeah, this really seems like it's more about... I really think this is more about Epic as a wider platform other than Fortnite and Tencent by extension. But other tech platforms are probably pushing them on. or summer. Okay, okay, here we go, boys. Now we get into the extremely high action legal brief reading. Are you ready? Actually, wait. Oh, I can read this in PDF. Let's go. Introduction. Since Fortnite debuted on the iPhone in 2018, Apple has provided Epic with exceptional array of benefits. Apple has licensed to Epic its full suite of developer tools, which Epic has used to create more than 200 Apple-reviewed modifications. Wow. At Apple's request, at Epic's request, Apple has pushed more than 140 unique updates to end users and has made systemic changes to enhance gameplay in Fortnite. Apple has provided a tremendous amount of marketing support by promoting Fortnite in the App Store, featuring Fortnite in Keystone events. I wonder if that was paid. 130 million people have downloaded Fortnite on the iPhone. That's interesting. Wow. Earning Epic more than $550 million through iOS alone. One 130 million divided by 50. Oh wait. 550 million divided by 130 users. That's $4.20 per as a value per user. Either this number is low or that's really fucking low. Like, that's horrible. I wonder why it's so bad. They said it was only 10%, but again, that's still like $1 billion, but it's bad as a value per user. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. For all of this, Epic has paid Apple just $99 each year for a developer license plus a 30% commission on digital products by end user. Yeah, but that 30% commission turns out to be what's that? $165 million. So, you know, 165 million and $99. Okay. Epic wants to play by different rules. It wants to keep enjoying these extensive and expensive benefits of the Apple ecosystem, including continued access to Apple iPhone customers for free. True. To avoid paying Apple, Epic smuggled into Fortnite a hotfix that bypassed the Apple Store's payment functionality. What would a good resolution to this look like even? Because Apple needs to profit off of this. Who's winning? It's really hard to say. They're in court right now. I'd play it. The audio's a little bit scuffed. So we'll just hop back in if, like, this is what.
To me, it's a portable supercomputer. It has reduced audio of a cell phone. It has a high resolution screen.
Yeah. The trial's going on right now, so it's hard to say. This is just day one of the trial, and this is going to extend for weeks, if not months, if not maybe years. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think that Epic probably has some legs to stand on. It's really hard to say what the resolution is going to be in this case, though. But yeah, that's why we're researching this. Epic CEO Tom Sweeney declared war against Apple in a multitude of fronts: creative, technical, business, and legal. Apple reasonably responded by exercising its absolute right to remove Fortnite from the App Store. This was absolute bait. Epic wanted them to do this because this just proves that that they have a monopoly. Terminating the developer privileges of Epic and its affiliates. That was also bad. They shouldn't have done that. Unless and until Epic comes back into compliance with Apple's policies. Epic refused to do so and instead asked the court to issue an extraordinary order blue penciling the parties' agreement so that Epic can use Apple services without paying any commissions. Oh, they want to pay nothing. Epic is suing Apple to pay 0%. Excuse my spelling. Okay, there we go. Any commissions. That's wild. Okay, I thought they would pay something. Or man, I don't know. Epic's motion should be denied because it has not come close to meeting any of the 4 traditional equitable factors needing to justify preliminary injection. Apple is no monopolist, and Epic is likely to succeed on the merits of its argument that the integrated iPhone business model violates the antitrust laws. Indeed, no court has ever accepted a claim remotely like this one, and the sheer novelty of Epic's position precludes preliminary injection relief. The Apple Store connects app developers with iPhone users for commercial transactions. Apple charges developers, in addition to a nominal annual fee, a commission on paid apps, which is kind of the focus of the legal battle, and in-app digital purchases by end users. The approach, I wonder if a fixed fee scaling up per user would be something they charge. That kind of kill, yeah, I don't know. This approach and commission structure, which is common in the industry, provides Apple with a financial return on its significant investment in creating, safeguarding, and maintaining the iPhone ecosystem. This just means user acquisition, which has fueled an exponential increase in the output of mobile devices and app, dramatically benefit users and developers, and significantly increase consumer choice. Yeah, not completely wrong. Simply put, the iPhone business model is decidedly pro-competitive according to Apple, or according to Epic's theories of monopolistic maintenance, and trying will fail on the merits. They're saying that they don't have. I don't see how this argues that they don't have monopoly. They're saying, okay, what they're saying is that they've brought benefit to users, so there's no harm to normal civilians. That's what this says. Because, oh boy, okay. What do you need to prove in an antitrust case? I believe there's like 4. Yeah, injury. Whoops. Here, I'll just move this to the other screen so I don't have to keep popping this up. Okay, injury to the plaintiff is a type that the antitrust laws were intended to prevent. First, the injury to the plaintiff must be a type that the antitrust laws were meant to prevent. In other words, antitrust injury connects the plaintiff's injury to the economic rationale of antitrust laws or the particular antitrust claim. Is this okay, we'll just read all this. For example, in a price fixing case, a plaintiff may be injured because it paid a higher price for a product than would have prevailed if there had been no price fixing. So to overlay the Epic case, an end user could pay less for a Fortnite skin if the Epic Game Store was allowed to exist. But that's not really price fix. I don't think that would be classified as price fixing. Is the main thing. Man. Wait, I wonder if this, because they're suing Google and Apple at the same time. Is Fortnite returning? Apple has made it known that if Epic drops the lawsuit, they would be happy to reinstate Epic's Games license on the iOS store or on the Apple store. But it doesn't look like Epic Games is going to be dropping the lawsuit anytime soon. There are kind of two options here. Either Epic Games wins, and there's a crazy precedent that's set across the tech industry, where platforms basically lose. Man, they lose a lot of stuff. They lose monopoly rights to sort of dictate they lose how they're allowed to write their terms of services, in which case Epic gets reinstated to the Apple Store, and Epic Games, the Epic Games Store as a platform will also get reinstated, probably, or allowed for the first time ever. The second option is Fortnite loses the case, and they plead that they're able to get back on the store, or they just ask Apple if they're allowed. I think Apple would be okay with that. The thing is, like we found in, it's not this article. Damn, we closed the other article. But just from this thing, iOS is only 10%, makes up only 10% of Fortnite's revenue. So Epic is kind of okay with letting this lawsuit go on for a long time. They're not losing that much money. They're still, man, I didn't take the thing, but I believe it's $55 million dollars in revenue from iOS, and 135 million players on iOS platforms. Yeah, so they're still making, man, was that total? I think that was total. They're still making like hundreds of $millions probably a year from iOS, but they're willing to lose that because it's less than 10% of Fortnite's total revenue. The answer is Fortnite will return eventually, for sure, but probably not for a long time. We're just getting into the start of the lawsuits.
No one
Let's
outside this courtroom.
tune back here and see
in
what's
fact, maybe
happening.
Not even people in the courtroom can hear you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bornstein, maybe you all can move that table over for her so that she can actually access it while she's at the mic.
Mr. Sweeney, I'd like to show you a device that has been labeled for identification as PX277. May I approach, Your Honor?
Okay, am I going to get to take this one home? I've mentioned before, my daughter uses the Switch, so.
I wish they had like a better mic or something with this. They need these courthouses need to hire like a production company to do these things. Like there's 300 people watching on this site. On Twitch there's a few thousand people watching. 4 people watching my stream. Let's go. You know, I think that can justify or there's justifiable demand for a production company, pay them like a few $1,000s a year. Like this is one of the biggest, the highest profile lawsuits in gaming, or it has been ever. This must be the highest profile case ever. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. So they're just using a call, like they're literally using a phone call right now, to stream this. It's ancient technology. It kind of sucks. Where were we? No, this isn't. Where were we? We were on that. Here we go. Yeah, we were here. Yeah, so 1977 Supreme Court classic case of Brunswick Corp versus Bolomat is the primary case that most litigants cite for antitrust injury. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, we're getting into it. Actual law precedents that matter. Here the plaintiff claimed that the defendant's acquisition of a failing bowling center violated antitrust law. That's weird. The court had to decide whether a competitor had standing to seek damages for its lost profits resulting from the acquisition and continued competition by the bowling center. The court held that the competitor did not have standing because antitrust laws are enacted for the protection of competition, not competitors. Okay. Okay. The plaintiff's injury was from additional compensation or competition from the bowling alley. The antitrust laws were not enacted to protect companies from competition. Okay. Maybe we can read this directly. Oh, look at this. A whole blog for antitrust stuff. Man, I'm really just streaming the most entertaining content right now. This is crazy. Antitrust injury is one of the most commonly fought battles in antitrust litigation. It is also one of the least understood antitrust concepts. No matter what your antitrust theory, it is almost certain that you must satisfy antitrust injury requirements to win your case. So you ought to have some idea what it is. I think this blog might be our savior here. No matter what your oh wait, we read that. The often quoted language is that antitrust injury is injury of the type the antitrust laws were intended to prevent, and that flows from that which makes the defendant acts unlawful. You will see this language or some variation of it in most court opinions deciding antitrust injury issues. The language and the analysis are from the classic antitrust case entitled Brunswick Corp vs. Bolomat, decided in the Supreme Court. Okay. For more, you can read our article on this stuff. No, I want to read this. If you're around in 1950, you probably know that bullying was a big deal. Really? I actually didn't know that. What's happening right now? The litigation for the Epic vs. Apple antitrust case is starting today. So, just to do a little bit of background on this, we're reading up on antitrust law. That is sort of the laws about how monopolies are allowed to exist and not allowed to exist, and what sort of constitutes a monopoly. We're reading up on the specific Apple versus Epic filings. So both the plaintiff and the defendant's pre-court statements. And then because the actual trial sounds like this. Wait.
So even though you've mentioned
it's a disaster,
something about the console hardware,
like it's incomparable. So we're just waiting. We're not actually going to listen to that right now. We're just going to go over a recap later. That's what we're doing. But this right now, which is the main thing we're interested in, is a legal blog. Is this the most exciting content in the world? It is. So, stick with me and we'll learn about probably the most important lawsuit in the history of gaming. And probably in all of tech. It's the most important antitrust lawsuit maybe ever. Because the laws are, or the precedent for this type of stuff is from a bowling alley in 1977, okay? That was the last time this stuff was like actually enforced correctly. So we're learning about this because this could be a big deal. Okay. If you're around in 1950, you probably know that bowling was a big deal. The industry expanded rapidly, which was great for manufacturers of bowling equipment, but sometimes good things come to an end, and the bowling industry went into a sharp decline in the early 1960s. Wow, this industry is almost comparable to tech. These same manufacturers began to have trouble as bowling alleys started paying late or not at all for their leased equipment. Okay. A particular bowling equipment manufacturer, Brunswick Corp, began acquiring and operating defaulted bowling centers when they couldn't resell the leased equipment. For a period of 7 years, Brunswick acquired 222 centers, some that it either disposed of or closed. This buying binge turned it into the largest operator of bowling centers by far. If you're a fan of The Big Lebowski, you might notice that the dude spends substantial amount of time at a Brunswick bowling alley. That's really cool movie trivia. Brunswick buying binge was a problem for a competing bowling alley operator and competitor Bolomat, who sued under the Clayton Act, arguing that certain Brunswick acquisitions in their territory might substantially lessen competition or tend to create a monopoly. Without the acquisition, the purchased bowling alley would have gone out of business, which would have benefited these guys. Okay, I see. So this is very different. They didn't quite have a monopoly, but it substantially hurt Bolomat because they had way more competition, but that competition was owned by one person. So I would think, based off of this, that Brunswick Bowling doesn't have a case. I would think that they don't necessarily have a monopoly. They're just the biggest player by far, but competition is still possible. And as long as they're not, they don't have some crazy like price, like loss leader strategy, then they're probably okay. Okay. The case made its way to the Supreme Court, which rejected the Clayton Act claim for lack of antitrust injury. What? The reason is that even though I don't know what this word says, indeed harmed by the acquisition, it wasn't a harm the antitrust laws were meant to protect. Right. So I was right. The acquisition actually increased competition. It did, but the competition was all owned by one person. But that's not really, that's allowed by the laws. Absent acquisition, Pablo would have gained market share, but the market included both Pablo and the bowling alleys that would have left the market, i.e. more competition. It is as simple as that a plaintiff cannot recover under the antitrust laws for an action that has actually increased rather than decreased competition, even if the plaintiff is harmed. So the main case right now for Epic vs. Apple, oh, wait. I messed that up, let me fix that. There, it's fixed. The main case right now for the Apple side is that the Epic store can't exist on iOS platforms, or it is being gated off. And Apple has an essential monopoly because their store comes pre-installed. This is man. Okay, so does Apple have the right? This is so hard for a platform. Apple creates the product. Man, the Bolomat thing is so much easier to figure out. I have no idea. Somehow I wanna lean on Epic side though. Okay. First, the claim injury must be the type the antitrust laws were intended to prevent. This is the challenge conduct that must be competition reducing, not competition increasing. So you could absolutely say that the Apple's refusal to let other app stores onto their devices is competition reducing. It just is. Without and in instituting the 30% fees or like service fees on any purchase makes it completely uncompetitive. You can absolutely say that. Then the question is, man, it's so hard. Mr. Wilson would be proud. I don't know. I'd love to hear what his thoughts on this are. I think he'd probably side with Apple. I would think. I have no idea. I have no idea what Mr. Wilson would say. Should write him an email. So what sort of injury is harm to competition? If a competitor is suing, the harm is usually related to that competitor's exclusion or foreclosure from a market that it was already in or about to enter. Oh, wait, this is interesting. Competitor's exclusion or foreclosure from a market that it was either already in or about to enter. If a consumer is suing, okay, so the competitor is suing. But in the case of if a consumer is suing, the harm is usually related to overpaying for a product or service, higher prices, or reduced quality. Competitive harm can also arise from reduced choice. Yeah. Okay, so this is really about the rights of platforms. That's really what it is. Second, the defendant antitrust violation must have proximately caused the plaintiff's injury. This is based causation if the plaintiff. I'm from Germany. Hey, welcome, my dude. How's Germany right now? I hope Corona is treating you well. I think EU is actually doing pretty well right now. What are your thoughts on this? I don't know how German legal cases work or anything like that. What are your thoughts on the Apple versus Epic situation? This is the commonplace injury causation requirement that isn't unique to antitrust law. Corona isn't so bad. Well, that's good. I'm in Ontario. I've had a year-long lockdown. I can't even cut my hair. So, I'm crying over here. Who's winning? It's very, very, very hard to say. Epic, this situation is extremely complicated. There's no precedent that even comes close to making this an easy case. The implications of the case will echo across the tech industry. So it's safe to say that this lawsuit is going to go on for a very, very, very long time. Fortunately, both companies can afford to stretch this out forever. But if Apple just makes the trial last forever, then Apple really wins because they're making a ton of money off the platform. I really hope Epic wins. There will be some crazy things that happen if Epic wins. Plus, we'll get Fortnite back on the App Store really quickly. Actually, as soon as the case closes, then Fortnite will be back on the App Store. So it's good either way for consumers. But it'll be really good if Epic wins, I think. That's just really hard to prove. So right now, we're just looking at antitrust law to try and figure out if there's some legal standing. I'm not a lawyer or anything. I just wanna learn about this. I'm doing well, Figured I'd be productive and do some research on probably the most important legal case in gaming of all time. So that's pretty cool. Is that it? What's next on this blog? How are you doing, my dude? I hope you're doing well. What happens if Congress overrides the classic antitrust platform market case in American Express? Oh, there's more case studies. Cool. I wonder if they have any. If they have anything on the Fortnite case. Apple versus Epic. Antitrust. Oh, I want to find like a lawyer's take on this. Maybe that's Reuters. You're subscribed to me? Hey, thanks, dude. This is a kind of different content than gaming theories, which is what I assumed you subscribe to, but it's important. Maybe we can make a Fortnite theory to make it a little bit more interesting. This is just research, so it's not going to be like packaged together super interestingly, but this is a super interesting matter, to me at least. Epic Games faces an uphill battle against Apple. Absolutely true. Win or lose against Apple, which has pursued an aggressive public relations campaign against Apple alongside its course pleading, may have already accomplished a major goal, drawing Apple squarely into the global debate over whether and how massive technology companies should be regulated. It's going on with platforms like Twitter as well, but I think app stores are sort of the focus of this, which is already super bad for Apple and Google. I think Google has kind of stood out of the light. When I hear people talking about this case, I only hear it in relation to Epic versus Apple. I think the Google case is very under talked about. And I think we have an extremely fast news cycle, but I think this case has been sort of pushed under the rug a little bit. I'm a nice dude. Thank you, dude. You're a nice dude too. Just for typing that, I think you're a pretty nice dude as well. Apple has mostly succeeded in staying out of regulatory crosshairs by arguing that iPhone is a niche product in a smartphone world dominated by Google Android operating system. Really? Wait. This is Q3 of 2019 and Q4 of 2020. I'm sorry, what? Oh, no, this is manufacturers. But still, I assume all of these are on Android as well. Yeah. Wait. Shipments, market share. 42, 49, 46, 46, 40, 65. What the heck are they talking about? I hope you're a big YouTuber. Maybe, dude. You know, I do very different types of content, I think, than most other people. Theory videos are really hard to make. But hopefully I can do just like chill streams like this and I don't know, become more of an educational channel. I think that'd be pretty cool. And we've seen sort of a rise in the ability of educational channels to grow pretty quickly. The content's just harder to make than like other types of personality content, but you know, it is what it is. My English is not good. Hey man, one of the best ways to improve your English is to stick around English speaking streams. So I don't know, you're in the right place, I guess. But I'm able to understand you, so that's a start, you know? You're able to type well, so that's cool. This is just wrong. I don't know how they're able to argue that iPhone is a niche product in a smartphone world dominated by Google. I feel like this article must be wrong. I've never heard this before. This is the worst argument I've heard in my entire life. Oh yeah, the argument has become harder to sustain with the number of iPhone users now exceeding 1 billion. Maybe this is something they did like, or the argument they made like 10 years ago or something. Hey man, how's Epic versus Apple going? The trials just started, so it's hard to say how people are leaning. I'm super glad that it's starting up though. It's very exciting. You know, it's gonna the trial's gonna be dragged out for a very, very long time. But yeah, we're just digging into the background of this and some antitrust stuff, so that'll be interesting. How old am I? I am. Oh my god, I actually don't know. I actually don't know how. I think I'm 22. Okay, my birthday's in March. We're past March. I'm 22. I haven't celebrated my birthday like super hard because of COVID, so you know, it's been a while. But I'm 22. Epic alleges Apple has a strong lock on those customers. Am I a mobile player myself? I don't play Fortnite on mobile. I play other games on mobile, but I think I've played Fortnite on mobile once. But I like mobile games, and I think the mobile game industry is gonna explode. This Fortnite versus Apple doesn't really matter. What matters is setting the precedent for other mobile games to exist more independent of platforms, terms of services, and then how that extends to other aspects of the tech industry is really interesting. Epic alleges Apple has a strong lock on those customers in the App Store. They do, of course. Constitute a distinct market share for software developers over which Apple has monopoly power. Apple is abusing that power. Epic argues by forcing developers to use Apple's in-app payment systems, which charge commissions of up to 30%. Yeah, we know this. Oh, wait. It's not a super strong suit. I don't think they are likely to win, says Rebecca Allensworth, a law professor at Vanderbilt Law School, but it has already achieved a lot of its purpose, which is drawing attention to some of Apple's practices that many developers see as abusive. Interesting. Bro, how do you only have this many subs and views? You deserve so much more. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. You know, I haven't posted in a while. I actually saw my channel grow extremely fast while I was posting very actively. But you know, I've been busy with school and other projects, but it'd be cool to come back to content creation, pump out some interesting stuff. To be honest, the stuff that I'm doing right now is really bad. I feel like less than 1% of the people that are in my audience for my other content would be interested in this type of thing, until I maybe package this more interestingly. So just the streams are like research stuff, but hopefully it can take notes and come up with a more interesting video would be cool. My English is good. My English is okay. I was in communication for school. I mean, I'm a native speaker, but I'm hardly a Toastmaster or anything like that. But yeah, I appreciate the compliment, man. I just speak fast. Maybe that's why it sounds like I'm good at English or speaking. That's actually a negative thing. I should try and slow down my speak, but you know, is what it is. Get a lot of information really quickly, which I think is cool. I appreciate that stuff. I usually watch YouTube videos on like 2x speed, so I think that probably that kind of messes up the rhythm of my talk. Yeah. Anyway. Epic's arguments draw on major antitrust cases against Microsoft. Oh, I didn't know about these. I should actually look at these. These are just ticker symbols. Or is this? Yeah, it's just a ticker symbol. Kodak and American Express. Oh, this that other blog had a thing on American Express. I should read that one. But apply this precedence in new ways. Oh, actually, I know about the Microsoft case. This was Microsoft versus Apple, I believe, before. Was it? Maybe. I don't know. Apply this precedence in new ways that have not been tested in U.S. courts, legal experts said. True. For example, in arguing that iPhones are a software market unto themselves, Epic relies partly on a 1992 U.S. Supreme Court decision that rejected efforts by Kodak to force owners of its copying machines to use Kodak repair service. Oh, wait, this is interesting. Rejected efforts by Kodak to force owners of its copying machines to use Kodak repair services. Huh. You had to use Kodak repair services to use your thing. That's different though. That's different. Because that's like a physical product, right? In this case, they're talking about a service, like software as a service type of, or I guess a platform. I wonder if there's a real distinction there. Watch, I did a thing. What did you do, my dude? University can be tough, man. Yeah, you know. It is what it is. My program is actually pretty easy. Not because I'm smart, or not because I'm a genius, but my program is just pretty fucking easy. So it is what it is. You did good. You came back. Yeah, I'm here now. I mean, it's just fun stuff for the summer. We'll see if it goes off. Yeah, you know, honestly, I probably should have kept the channel somewhat alive. I think that would have been cool. But, you know, I did other things. I ended up doing a lot of esports stuff. So I'm the president of my university's esports club now. So a lot of my time has went into that. But yeah, that's sort of what I've been putting my time into. But content creation is a big part of that type of stuff. So I figured I'd come back here and try and work on that. Honestly, like working on the esports stuff was at least twice as hard as actual university stuff, to be completely honest. But yeah, anyway. Plaintiffs are awfully unsuccessful because courts read Kodak narrowly at times. Plaintiffs are unsuccessful. But Kodak was in favor of. Oh, I guess it's just because they wouldn't want other. So what this is saying, I don't know who this is coming from. a law professor here. It's very different. The case is very different because Apple is a software platform. This article is reading to me like these law professors don't have a lot of hope in Epic, but we'll see what happens. I think there's kind of an anti-corporatist push right now, just in society, and I think legislators are. I don't actually think legislators have power because this is a private case in this situation, but I think legislators might be pushing to try and break down the monopolies that exist in the tech industry, sort of break into that a little bit more. Man, this is such a good case. I really, really hope Epic. What are the outcomes will be? I know what the outcomes will be. Okay, this case is going to be pushed or going to be extended forever. Apple and Epic are both incentivized to make this court case last as long as they possibly can. In the end, I personally really want Epic to win. I think it's going to be really hard. There's a very, very low chance that Epic actually does win the lawsuit. However, like we've seen in many articles or what they've mentioned, the platform wars revolving around iOS and Android, or like phone mobile platforms, has sort of become a central focus in antitrust and monopoly cases in the tech industry. We've seen this again in the Parler stuff. If you guys remember what happened there, oh man, I think I didn't do much research into this, but I believe when Donald Trump was kicked off of Twitter or was banned from Twitter, Parler popped up as a platform that was going to host Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump moved to that, and we saw again the mobile platforms shut down Parler as an app for violating TOS. But again, just there's sort of multiple axes where where we're sort of seeing like monopolistic behavior in Google and Apple iOS app stores. So just socially and in the public sphere, we have this focus on that area, and that's kind of I guess that's kind of what Epic wants. If this specific case doesn't go through, we might see more lawsuits filed in the future. The one really good thing Epic has to go off here is that they would benefit like crazy because of Tencent's reign over mobile games if this lawsuit wins. And Fortnite on iOS systems doesn't represent a big enough share of Epic's revenue for them to care too much about whether or not the game is or is not allowed on the system, right? Yeah, that's sort of how I see it. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of don't think that Epic will win this one, but there's a chance. If Epic does win, it's gonna be crazy. Epic also faces hurdles in that Apple's in-app payment commissions are too high. Yeah. I want Epic to win. I think this would be the best outcome for devs. Yeah, absolutely. It's the best outcome for consumers, but for platforms in general, it's bad. I mean, I think that there is basically a monopoly here, and breaking this up would be better for most people. It just, if this works, it really draws, or it poses the question, how do these platforms monetize in a way that doesn't
It's time for time.
Oh my gosh.
Apple did have to do something to the iPhone itself,
Oh, there we
right?
go.
In terms of
There we go. Okay. My headset died. Whoops. Back to what we were reading. Here. Anti-competitive behavior is illegal under federal antitrust law. Hyper-competitive behavior is not. Yeah. Wait, this has... Okay. A federal antitrust official speaking autonomously because the official was not authorized to speak to the media said that Epic loss would dim the chances of government pushing a similar lawsuit against Apple. Maybe. Maybe? I guess so. I guess so. What would legislators do? Like if this case doesn't go through, then do legislators just give up? Whoops. I don't know. Hey, what's up? Cruels? What's up, my dude? How are you doing? Brewing antitrust debate. Epic suit has ramped up pressure on Apple in the court of public opinion at a time when the iPhone maker's business practices are facing fresh scrutiny around the world. True. The U.S. Department of Justice is probing the company's practices. Reuters has reported, and regulators in the United Kingdom and Australia have opened probes or called for regulation. This will be met in the EU courts, likely, yeah. EU regulators last week accused Apple of distorting competition in the music streaming market, siding with Spotify technology in the zone's first major anti-competition charge against Apple. Oh no. Oh wait, did this go through? There's no way. Okay, we're gonna have to read this article later as well. Epic advertisements decrying Apple for taking such a big cut of revenue are landing aside those headlines. The public can understand these issues and in many ways understand them better than these judges who have never played a game in their life, said Thomas Horton, a professor at the University of South Dakota School of Law. The biggest threat to Apple's App Store is not the lawsuits, but rather new laws regulating digital platforms. I think I agree with this. Partner at this law firm, and U.S. FTC commissioner. When will there be a decision made? We're just on the first day of the court cases, so not for a long time. Both companies are incentivized to keep this trial going for as long as possible, so it could be months or years before we hear a decision. But now is a good start. Hopefully we can. Hopefully there will be a lot of awareness raised from this lawsuit, and it sort of comes back into the public eye. Hola, Vico Duro. Am I an Android or iOS user? I am an Android user. I mean, I have an iPad, but my phone is Android, and I prefer the Android platform. I am no friend of Apple in this case. Actually, Apple kind of has a point with how they're doing things. I wouldn't expect Apple to just give in here, because the case has interesting ramifications. But yeah, I'm an Android fan for sure. European lawmakers have already proposed legislation that could require Apple to allow developers to use their own payment systems, and consensus for new regulation is building in the United States as well. That's interesting. So there could be a split decision, possibly. Or no, actually, what would happen is EU would regulate or would pass legislation independently of the case. They said something interesting, right? Where did they say? They said that U.S. legislators might not pass legislation if if Epic loses this case, which is interesting. I don't know why they would say that. That seems that seems counterintuitive, but I mean, it was a lawyer, so I'll believe him. If it were me, I would be looking at ways in which I could influence might be inevitable changes to rules under which Apple is going to operate, he said. Huh. Long-term Apple user? Yeah, I think Android's better. Google's also being sued. I don't know if you guys know about that. Google's also being sued by Epic for basically the same thing. But I think sort of Apple is just sort of taking the brunt of the criticism in the public eye. Yeah, it's sort of unlucky for them. But Google's monopolistic too, so it is what it is. This is interesting. I actually didn't know too much about the Spotify case, but this will be interesting to read. What are you guys' thoughts? Who do you think? Who do you want to win? Who do you think is going to win in this case? And are you guys keeping up with sort of what's happening, other than just the stream? U.S. regulators accused Apple on Friday of distorting competition in the music streaming market, siding with Spotify. So, wow, they actually made a decision in a case that could lead to a hefty fine and charges in the iPhone's maker lucrative business practices. This is probably, so I haven't read this yet, but this is probably giving Apple Music priority in search or in the Apple Store. They can also, man, I actually don't know enough about these platforms. They can probably charge less because any Spotify premiums that are bought on the platform are going to be 30% more expensive sort of by necessity, and Apple can afford to charge less. And then last, Apple Music probably comes pre-installed on iOS devices, which means that Spotify is at a disadvantage initially. So there's probably three things here. I haven't read this yet, but I think that's probably what they're going to be touching on. Brussels has leveled anti-competitive charges against Apple, although the two sides had brushing clashes in the past, most notably a multi-million-dollar tax dispute involving Ireland. Apple, Spotify, and other parties can now respond if the case is pursued. The EU could demand concessions and potentially impose a fine of up to 10% of Apple's global turnover. Wow. 27 bill, although it rarely levies the maximum penalty. Apple found itself in the EU Commissioner's crosshairs after Sweden-based Spotify complained 2 years ago that the US tech giant unfairly restricted rivals to its own music streaming services, Apple Music, on iPhones. I think that's probably in the App Store. They restricted it in some way. I think that's what they're referring to. The EU competition enforcer, in its so-called statement of objections setting out the charge, said the issue related to Apple's restrictive rules for the App Store. Restrictive rules for its App Store, that force developers to use its own in-app payment systems and prevent them from informing users of other purchasing options. Okay. EU rulings have changed Apple's plans in the past, but are the changes also implemented in the US? Almost certainly not, right? They would have, that's why they have regional app stores. So, yeah, that I think this case would be, this case is going to determine US legislation and precedent in the US a lot more than it's going to determine any sort of EU stuff. It seems like EU is actually more on top of antitrust stuff, just going off this article, I guess, than the US is. But there probably will be some snowball effects eventually, or leading into the EU, which I think is interesting. Clear signs that Apple Store rules were affecting music streaming rivals, businesses development, and affecting app developers more widely. Actually, this is a really good case. This sort of translates super well to the Epic Game Store, does it not? It's like, I guess it's a little bit different. This is a bit worse than what Apple is, or than what Epic Games is proposing. Epic's case is a little bit more extreme, so yeah, it's not quite the same. The app developers depend on Apple App Store's gatekeepers to access users of Apple iPhones and iPads. Significant market power cannot go unchecked, true, as the conditions of access to Apple App Store are key for the success of app developers, she told a news conference. This person said that Apple should end restrictive practices and refrain from doing anything that would replicate them. She also said other authorities were looking into the issue. We've contact with other jurisdictions doing similar cases. That could be the Dutch, the Australians, the Americans, she said, adding she was also interested in the app gaming market. Interesting. Those early days, Apple rebuffed the EU charge. Spotify has become the largest music subscription service in the world, and we're proud of the role it played in that. It said in a statement, they want all the benefits of the App Store, but don't think they should have to pay anything for that. The commission's argument on Spotify's behalf is the opposite of fair competition. Oh my God, I can't speak. Internet gatekeepers. Spotify welcomed the EU's move, describing it as a critical step towards holding Apple accountable for its anti-competitive behavior, ensuring meaningful choice for all consumers and a level playing field for app devs. Reuters was the first to report about the imminent EU antitrust charge in March. Spotify, one of Europe's few global success stories in consumer technology, is the market leader in music streaming with 356 million active users and 158 million paid subscribers. Apple Music, launched more recently in 2015, is estimated to have more than 70 million subscribers, although the company does not give a separate figure for that part of the business. That's interesting. Spotify is like twice as big as Apple Music. When did Spotify launch? It doesn't say here, right? 2006, but I think wait. Okay, seems like 2006. So Apple is growing extremely fast. It kind of makes sense, but yeah, wow. Competition between the two companies has intensified in recent weeks, with both seeking to build a customer base via supremacy in the market for podcasts. Most of the users may be free accounts, though. No, it says million subscribers. I believe subscribers implies like paid membership, right? So unless I misread that. Yeah, I don't know what they mean here. I'm not 100% sure. I assume it implies paid subscribers, but it kind of makes sense that Apple would be closed off with revealing those types of business details. Actually, maybe they wouldn't be. I wonder if we could find this on like Apple stockholder information. We could maybe do that, but that'd be a lot of work. I don't care that much about this specific thing. I just want to keep focused for now. Competition between the two companies has intensified in recent weeks, for both seeking to build their customer base via supremacy in the market for podcasts. Is podcasts that big right now? It might be. Yeah, I guess I can see that. Yo, what's up, my dude? Welcome. Oh my God, what is your name? Saint? Street? What's going on? Apple versus Epic in the trial of the century. This trial is going to determine how much power platforms have in the tech industry. Absolutely huge. Probably the biggest legal battle in gaming history, in tech history maybe. Epic is sort of pushing a boulder up the hill here. It's going to be really hard for them to win. We're just on day one of the legal proceedings, but things are already heating up. We're just doing a little bit of research on antitrust law and sort of the backgrounds of these two companies. But it's super exciting if you find antitrust exciting. Who's winning? We're just on day one, so it's hard to say for now. The case is going to go on for a long time. Both companies are incentivized to stretch this out, but it looks like Epic kind of has a case. There is some precedent, maybe with Spotify, who won an antitrust battle with Apple. When was this actually? I don't know when this was. It was recently. So Epic has some ground to stand on. There, in the last article we read, in this article, it seemed like legal professionals weren't super confident in Epic's chances, which is fair. It's going to be really, really hard to prove that Apple has a monopoly just over their app store. But if things do go through, it's going to be pretty crazy. There are gonna be a lot of ramifications later. Is Tile versus AirTags? Not familiar with that. Let's look that up. Apple AirTags versus Tile Tracker. Oh, interesting. Okay, I think this article's almost done. And then we'll read that case. Competition between two companies has intensified in recent weeks, with both seeking. Oh yeah, we read that. Europe's consumers expect and deserve access to a full range of music streaming services without their choices being restricted or prices being inflated unfairly by internet gatekeepers, said European Consumer Organization BEUC. The EU charge comes a week before Apple's face-off with Epic Games and the US. Oh, wow, this was just a week ago. I didn't realize that was so recent. Yeah, things are cracking down on Apple. Fortnite creator, blah, blah, blah. Epic has complained to the Commission on the same issues. True. Last month, the UK Competition and Markets Authority opened an investigation into Apple after complaints the iPhone maker's terms and conditions for app developers were unfair. Interesting. Yeah, so Europe is already pursuing like legislative action. That is actually probably right off the back of the Spotify case. And then I guess the idea is this exact same thing will happen if in the US if the Epic Game case goes through. But like I said before, the Epic's case is a little bit harder to prove than this case it seems like. Okay, let's read this. Do I have to turn off ad block? It'll work. Okay, maybe it'll work. Okay, so this is just CNBC, but we'll see how good this is. Key points. Apple's $29 HTAG lost item tracker begins shipping April 30th. Tile also sells a popular lost device tracker, but it is different. Here's an overview of how Tile and AirTag differ, and a bit about why Tile is mad Apple's moving on its turf. Wait, is there a lawsuit for this? Because there's no... I don't think this would be an antitrust thing. It doesn't seem like it. This is just competition. Lol hacks. Do you know if there's antitrust stuff going on right now between these two companies? Or is it... Interesting. It might be intellectual property disputes, I think. Right? That sounds more right. Like maybe they have a patent on that sort of technology. I IP law. I didn't spell it right. Let's see if that works. Oh, no way. That's interesting. That'll actually be crazy. Wow. Wow, you're actually right. Okay, this is a really interesting antitrust case. Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. We'll be right back and then we'll keep going. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's keep going. We learned this morning that Tile will be testifying to Congress over antitrust concerns aimed at Apple, along with Google and Amazon. Okay, this is interesting. Now that opening statements have been made in today's hearing, we've learned specifics about Tile's concerns when it comes to Find My App, Apple's yet to be announced AirTag product, and access to iPhone's hardware. Over the last year, concerns about Apple's using anti-competitive business practices have grown significantly. My colleague Ben Lovejoy summed the official ones up this morning. In addition to congressional hearings, the Department of Justice has its own investigation. The Federal Trade Commission is investigating the legality of a deal between Apple and Amazon. A number of U.S. states are carrying out wide-range antitrust inquiries of their own. There are a number of cases in other countries and a slew of lawsuits. The Verge's Nilay Patel is at the hearing and shared some of the highlights of Tile's opening statements. Tile's argument is that Apple is preventing the companies like itself access to the same software integration that can offer a seamless user experience. Further, the company's VP and General Counsel, Kirsten Daru, notes that Apple isn't allowing Tile products to use the UWB radios in the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. Marquise Brownlee did a great video about Apple, how Apple are leveraging their position against companies. Okay, awesome. I'll check that out. I like Marcus. He makes really good content. I'll just finish this article first. Tile also brought up that Apple removed its products from its stores shortly after this discovered Apple's upcoming Tile-like device. The Find My App cannot be deleted from iOS, but Tile can, says Daru. Find My settings are enabled by one switch during installation, but Tiles are buried. And iOS 13 reminds users to turn it off. Tile is also not allowed to use the new UWB radios in iPhone 11. So this is obvious anti-competitive behavior. The question is, I guess, like, is this type of monopolistic behavior allowed? Because they're clearly... I don't know, it's hard. This is hard. I'm sure Apple could come up with an argument. Apple is probably going to claim like security or something here. Like they only want their own hardware to be able to access these types of things for security reasons. I would assume that's what they say. And they don't want external hardware or external software to be able to access like this type of user tracking. I think that's what Apple's response would be. Yeah, I don't know. Going off this, I think it'd be interesting to look at. I feel like before there were lawsuits over the right to modify your hardware. So if you were allowed to like jailbreak your iPhone or something like that, I feel like there were lawsuits related to that a while ago. I don't know how they got settled though. I think it was in the favor of being able to like owning your own devices. Once you buy it, it's yours and you can do whatever you want with it. I feel like that's how the rulings went, but I have to look more into that because I feel like that's kind of relevant to this specific situation with Tile. You know what? My voice is tired. Let's just watch the Marquise Brownlee video. Again, chill for a second. Which video is it? Against companies. I think this. No, it's not that. Oh, that's so loud. Maybe this. Is it this one? Let's try this one.
Hey, what's up? MKBHD here.
Cool.
So, you know those fish that suction themselves to sharks, and you always... see them along the side of sharks. Like they follow the shark everywhere they go, swimming alongside it, usually attached to it. It's called the remora fish, and they are fascinating creatures. They have this relationship that's kind of amazing for the remora. It gets to snack on the scraps of whatever the shark is eating, and it has a 24/7 bodyguard basically. And the shark allows it to do that because it'll also eat parasites off the shark's back. It keeps it clean. It's a win-win. They have a symbiotic relationship, meaning they both benefit. But really, the remora fish definitely needs the shark way more than the other way around. So you never really see them out in the wild without some sort of host or something to attach to. Now, in the tech world, Apple is that shark, and there are a whole bunch of companies, you've probably heard of them, whose primary business function happens to be an accessory that attaches to something Apple does. And that is a dangerous place to live. So this whole dynamic it's so fascinating to watch because there's so
That was such a good example. He's a genius.
AirTags is, the one recent announcement that's got me thinking a lot about this lately. But really, anytime Apple enters a new product category, it gets a lot of attention because it's interesting. Like, how will Apple do it the Apple way? Will they separate themselves from the competition or do anything technically different? And AirTags, they have some legitimately unique features. The little precision find feature makes for a cool demo. But Bluetooth trackers
That's the coolest one.
Not even close. Tile has been making these things since 2013, and they do fundamentally the same thing. They help you find whatever they're attached to by pinging other phones around that have the Tile app, which creates a community mesh network and help you find your thing. Plus, there's a couple other features and a variety of shapes and sizes, and Tile is also built in to some other items. But for the core function of finding your thing, AirTags have a massive advantage, which is their network isn't just people using the Tile app, it's all of the stuff on Apple's Find My network. So it's iPhones, it's iPads, it's Macs, and they'll all passively update the position of something near it anytime it's around a device on that network. It's frictionless, it happens silently and effortlessly in the background, you don't even know it's happening, and the network is massive. It's approaching 1 billion devices. So there are some best case estimates that put Tile's presence in some of the most densely populated cities in the world, like Manhattan and San Francisco, at 1 Tile user per block, meaning you can't go more than a block without encountering a Tile that will update the location on the network, which is pretty impressive. But when you think about those same blocks in those same cities, you're gonna get, what, 12+ iPhones and Macs and iPads? And that's not even considering all of the other less populated areas. So immediately, Apple's ability to plug a feature into the iPhone gave them a huge advantage over the competition. That is the theme. So I already made a video called The Apple Ecosystem Explained. I'll link it below the like button if you haven't seen it already, but I talk about why people keep choosing the iPhone. It's because of the walls around the ecosystem. But here's another thought. Because of Apple's ability to plug things into the ecosystem, especially with the iPhone, Apple can kill entire companies. But they don't do it menacingly. They do it so nicely by presenting it as a choice on a silver platter. Less than a month ago, Apple actually opened up the Find My network to allow third-party accessories to take advantage of this incredible network, right? So out of the gate, there were e-bikes and earbuds, and conveniently, another cheap plastic Bluetooth tracker that you can find based on nearby devices in this network. Amazing. So now for Tile, there's technically a choice. You can make a Tile that's compatible with Apple's Find My network, or not. It's a choice, pretty simple. But it's actually a bit of a paradox of choice, because either way you choose, Apple still wins. So let's say they choose to make a compatible Tile that works in the Find My iOS ecosystem. That seems great, right? It works great for the users, they take advantage of that better network, but now that means a portion of new Tile customers who were going to buy a regular Tile that plugs into and improves the Tile network will actually be plugging into and improving Apple's network instead. They'll plug into Find My, and they won't use the Tile app for locating their device, which means now Tile is selling a product that actively hurts their own business and makes their own network less desirable over time. So the other choice is to not participate in the Find My network and not offer a Tile that works with it, which just means you're missing out on those sales and their less appealing network slowly dies over time as people just buy the ones with the more deeply compatible iPhone. But hey, technically, it's a choice, right? Look how friendly this guy is. He would never force you to do anything you didn't want to. You can choose to work with the iPhone or not. It's up to you. You could also choose to swim off into the rest of the ocean, or you could stay swimming with me, the shark. Makes sense, right? I'd actually argue this paradox of choice happens twice with AirTags. So once with Kyle, as we just saw, but also again for the customer. So if you're an iPhone user, now technically you have a choice between the two different options, which one is going to require a separate app and has a much smaller network, and the other just kind of plugs right in and seamlessly works in the background and not much thought to it, and they're around the same price. See what I'm getting at? Now Apple will always repeat day in and day out, there is competition. We have competition, and you can always choose our competition over the product we make. But Apple's smart, so obviously they know they have deep market penetration with the iPhone. And so when they want to leverage that to jump into a new product category, they'll do it every time. They've done it before. Apple Watch is maybe the most popular watch on earth. I think they've said this before.
Wow.
And AirPods are honestly some of the most popular wireless earbuds ever made. That's because of the iPhone. But it's even more fascinating when they literally kill whole companies. Like when the shark decides to close its mouth and eat the fish that was cleaning its teeth. Apple's done this so many times. I've got 4 more examples for you. Each one of them a little bit more brutal than the last. So I'm going to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a light scratch, 10 being absolutely finished, on how bad Apple left them after they jumped into the new product category. And if you'll notice,
wonder if we can guess them.
All on the back of this paradox of choice. So, Flux, or F.Lux, you might have heard of them. They are an
I've
app
never heard
that
of
lets
this.
you change the color temperature of your screen, right? So it'll adjust to have more or less blue light output, and it can automatically make your screen warmer
Is this for a
and
Mac?
dimmer the later it gets in the day. Flux used to be in Apple's app stores, but then in 2015 they were kicked out, and Apple's reasoning was developers can't take advantage of the use of certain private APIs. So it seems reasonable. We all know Apple's been very specific about the way, Macs and iPhones and iPads should look and feel. But what feels weird about that one specifically is later that year, Apple came out with an update where they built in that exact functionality into the OS themselves. It's on the Mac behind me. It's called Night Shift. So with Night Shift, your iPhone or iPad or Mac can get warmer or cooler based on the time of day or where you're at, and it can set a schedule for when you want that to happen.
Why would Apple force them off? Why wouldn't they just use or release their own competitor product? I feel like that that other company wouldn't hurt Apple at all. That doesn't make sense to me.
Useful, of course, and convenient now that it's baked in. So now you're a Mac user. You've got a choice. You can go to the Flux website and download it since it's not in the App Store anymore, and then approve it through security, and then set it up and get the schedule going. Or you can just use the one built into system preferences. But you have the choice. I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10, only because Apple could only kill half the company when it's also available on Windows and on Android if you root. But also, Android's added some of this functionality. Windows 10 has added some of this functionality, so all of them combined would make it about a 10 out of 10, but Apple could only kill half. Alright, so then there are iPad styluses. And this isn't one company so much as it's like a whole product category that sort of got pummeled when Apple decided to enter. So there's a big variety in this space. There's the markers and pens and pencils and styluses that can all write on the iPad surface. And so you can get anything from ultra cheap to ultra premium depending on what you want it to do. And then Apple just drops in at the high end with the Apple Pencil. Now the Apple Pencil, as we all know, works with and plugs into the iPad Pro better than any other stylus. I would say literally because of the first gen Apple Pencil, but no other iPad Pro stylus slaps onto the side of the iPad magnetically and pairs instantly and charges while sitting there. It works with all of iPadOS's built-in tools and minimizes latency with that high refresh rate display. It is the best possible implementation of an iPad Pro input device. Plus, I can imagine future versions of the Apple Pencil having a U1 chip, right? It would make a lot of sense. You can add it to the Find My network. You can direct your iPhone to find it when you lose it. We all know we've lost that pencil before. There's just no way to justify buying a different stylus for $100 for the iPad. I mean, you can. You have that choice. So I'm going to give this one like a 6 or 7, just because you can still buy the cheaper ones if you just want a very simple
This one doesn't seem like antitrust. This is just more competition.
input device.
This one seems okay to me.
The second you go $100 plus, that whole category, really hard to compete with the Apple Pencil. So okay, then there's Duet Display. So you might not have heard of this one, but you probably have heard of.
Yeah, the Apple Pencil one seems okay to me because that, like I don't know if you were here for when we were reading the lawyer blog. This doesn't seem like less competition. It seems like more competition. Whereas Apple removing that, the screen hue adjuster, that seems really bad. And I don't even know why they would do that, because strategically, I don't think that gives, or that benefits Apple in any way. The Tile one seems really bad, and the Fortnite one seems pretty bad as well. I think there are cases there. The Spotify one was really, really bad. That makes sense that it would go through. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Epic. I think if Epic wins, the entire house of cards comes crumbling down, and Apple is going to lose a lot of lawsuits. The Spotify, it is so good for Epic though that the Spotify won, or they lost the Spotify one. Even though that was in EU courts, like, man, they removed them from the App Store. Who, Epic? Yeah, they did. Are you talking about Epic though?
Of Sidecar, the feature, right? That lets you use your iPad as a
But
second.
They removed Epic because they broke TOS. But the TOS in itself promotes antitrust type of stuff, or anti-competition. Who's winning? It's super hard to say. Apple's winning. Apple's probably in the better position right now. I wouldn't say they're winning. We're too early to say who's winning, but it's Apple is probably more likely to win right now by a little bit, at least in the Epic versus Apple case, I think.
What you might not know,
but it's closer than I thought at the beginning of the day, so that's something.
App and a company that's been built to do exactly this for a long time, much before Sidecar existed. And just like Flux, it still exists. It's still got Windows and Android and even Chrome OS versions, and it actually does still work for iPad. But you can imagine most people who are just searching for something on Google, like how to use an iPad as a second display, Sidecar is going to come up the majority of the time, and it's going to be the easiest way to do it, plug in straight into iPad OS the majority of the time. So Duet Display does have a couple extra features on top of Sidecar, like you can use the touchscreen while you're mirroring, but still, like Flux and like Tile, most people are just going to be satisfied with the first-party built-in version. So I'm going to give this a 7 because there's still the Windows users with iPads who are still going to make that happen. So last but not least, there is Watson.
I've never heard of this.
Probably hurts the most. So this was a search tool in the Mac that let you search the web and search all kinds of other things without actually having to open up your browser. And their tagline was actually an innovative utility that bypasses the web browser. But as you probably already know, Apple came out with Sherlock 3, which was then called Spotlight, which is in everything I make now. I use it all the time, and it does exactly the same thing. Search the web, search your Mac, search whatever. Also, the Mac does it, the iPhone does it, the iPad does it, Android phones do it. Like, you can still technically choose to download this original, but look at their website. Like, you can.
Again, this seems just like more competition and way better competition. This doesn't feel like antitrust or like monopolistic control. This just seems like more competition to me.
Imagine there hasn't been a good reason for people to download Watson in a long time.
Fortnite could come back in the App Store if Epic drops the case or if they win. If one of those two things happens, it might come back, and Apple has said that they're willing to let Fortnite back if Apple drops or if Epic drops the case. But the court case probably will go on for quite some time.
If this is what their website still looks like.
Yeah, Tile's the main one.
10 out of 10. RIP.
He's just
completely gone right along.
He's just demonstrating how sort of Apple leverages their position, and as a whole company, they're engaged in like somewhat monopolistic behavior. I think that's what Marquise is sort of going for.
App. You remember those? When you used to be able to download a flashlight app on the iPhone, then Apple literally built it into the lock screen on iOS, and now there's no reason to download a flashlight app. I mean, you can choose to, technically, but you're not going to. So all this is a dynamic I encourage you to pay attention to, the shark and the remora of the tech world, right? And there's a lot of this talk going on in the public sphere already with the whole antitrust and the walled garden talks. Funny enough, the day after AirTags were announced, Tile testified in front of Congress to explain how Apple was leveraging an unfair advantage to enter that market. But of course, Apple would argue, no, we didn't. We let people choose. We gave people a choice. Everyone had a choice. You could plug into the Find My network if you wanted to, or not. That's up to you. You can do it the Apple way or not, and whichever product people decide to buy. So
if Epic loses, the V-Bucks will be back to what they were before, so higher. If Epic wins, the Fortnite or the V-Bucks prices go down to what they were or what they are on PC.
So I don't think there's any correct.
So yeah, you might be good.
There's no easy right answer, but
maybe
should Apple not be allowed to plug into their own ecosystem and leverage that to make new great products, or does Apple have too much power in that way? But I encourage you to pay attention to when Apple inevitably enters even more new product categories, like when they make an AR headset or a camera or whatever other new product they do end up making. Watch how much they plug in to that ecosystem in ways that their competition literally can't, and watch how those fish respond to the shark. But either way, it's crazy to think about how far Apple has come from being a small company out of a garage to literally one of the biggest companies ever to exist, mostly on the backs of the iPhone. Oh, speaking of which, my friend Rene Ritchie he's made a Nebula original on the introduction of that original iPhone with a bunch of industry folks, including myself, talking about, the fact that made such huge ripples in the first keynote and what that original iPhone meant. So you can watch that whole thing on Nebula, a video streaming service built by independent creators, including myself, and that is bundled with this video's sponsor, CuriosityStream. So Nebula.
Cool. Thanks, Marcus. I was actually watching a video for AirTags before. It actually, all things aside, it actually looks like a really cool product. I even have a Tile, but man, that feature where you just like walk towards it, I forget what it's called, but that looked so cool. Yeah. Epic is still only thinking about their profit. Eventually, they will charge the same for V-Bucks as Apple does with the charge. Is that true? Well, the problem is right now they have to charge 30% more to make up the fees taken by iOS, right? So V-Bucks could be bought on over time. Yeah, eventually prices will inflate across the board. But the thing is, if Apple wins this, then the iPhone prices will always be 30% higher than the standard V-Bucks price. The V-Bucks prices are going to go up eventually. Actually, they might, or what Fortnite might do is they might start inflating the actual cost um, of skins. So there's sort of two options for Fortnite, right? Either I wonder if I can. You might understand what I'm saying, but I want to open Paint and see if I can explain that correctly. You can have a skin that costs 1,000 V-Bucks. Now there are two ways to make the skin more expensive. You can either if your V-Bucks are 100 V-Bucks for $10, okay, you can either make it so that 100 V-Bucks costs $20, or you could make it so that the 100 V-Bucks still costs $10, but instead the average price of a skin is going to cost twice as much, right? You can do it both ways. I think the skin way is actually a little bit sneakier, and then what you do on the back end is you say, okay, well now we're also going to put out a bigger package that says you can have, 1,000 V-Bucks for $100. I think that's how they're going to do it. But that's just like price. I don't know. That's marketing things. I think that's how Fortnite's gonna run this. But yeah, I think the ability for people to purchase V-Bucks. Can I delete this? On the Epic Game Store. You can buy this, right? I think being able to buy it cheaper, not on platform, is contributing to the very, very low revenues on iOS. I think that has a lot to do with it. You can redeem online. Can you purchase? Where do you buy V-Bucks? Maybe you have to buy Fortnite. You can't just buy them online here. Yeah, I bet a lot of these cards get sold. You can probably buy these. Like, it's probably better to buy these at Walmart than it is to just go through the make a purchase through the mobile game, I think. Anyway, I think that's gonna be the end of my stream. My voice is pretty tired, and I did a lot of research. I want to eat though before I starve here. Thanks for hanging out with me, my dudes. Lol hacks. Before I go, what's your background? You seem to know like quite a bit about Antitrust if you're still in the chat. What do you do? Oh, wait. Uh-oh. Infinite things. Let's see if I can save some of these links for later. I think I read. Gas networks? Nice. Okay, not quite Antitrust, but that's pretty cool. You're in EU, right? I want to save these. This blog. I'll read more of this tomorrow because I thought this was really informative. You like tech though? Yeah, that's fair. Gas networks. I guess that's not like an electrician, is it? It's kind of like it's some sort of trade skill. It's just like an alternate trade skill, I guess. That's cool. Yeah, this stuff's interesting. I'm glad you showed up. somebody, I actually found the one other person on YouTube who is somewhat interested in reading a bunch of law articles. So that's cool. Okay, dude, I'm gonna be streaming. For anybody that's still in chat, I'm gonna be streaming probably tomorrow as well. I'll do more reading, do more research, and then we'll have probably more updates on day one of litigation. That'll be interesting. Yeah, I hope I gave something I said something that was interesting. Some sort of intelligent take. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but this stuff's just interesting to me. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Much love, my dudes. Good night.